The morning sun filtered through the blinds, casting golden stripes across our kitchen table. It was one of those perfect summer mornings where everything seemed serene and untroubled. My husband, Ethan, sat at the table scrolling through his phone with an intensity that made me curious but not overly concerned. We had been married for 7 years, and life together felt like a well-oiled machine, predictable, comfortable, and filled with small joys. We lived in a modest suburban home, complete with 2 bedrooms, a backyard big enough for our golden retriever, Max, to chase tennis balls, and a little garden where I grew tomatoes and basil every summer. Ethan worked as an IT consultant, while I taught English at a middle school. Together, we earned enough to live comfortably without ever having to worry about money. Over the years, we'd managed to save up a decent amount of money, a joint savings account we affectionately called the Dream Fund. It gave us both a sense of security and purpose, knowing that we were building something together. Ethan always joked about retiring early so we could travel full-time. He loved adventure and often talked about buying an RV one day, exploring national parks and living off the grid. While I wasn't entirely sold on giving up my classroom, I admired his enthusiasm and shared some of his dreams. Who wouldn't want to wake up to mountain views instead of traffic jams? But beneath this idyllic facade lay cracks I hadn't noticed, or perhaps chose not to see. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. At first, it was just little things. Ethan working late more often, claiming deadlines at work were piling up. Then came the frequent phone calls during dinner, followed by vague explanations whenever I asked who he was talking to. Just a client, he'd say with a dismissive wave of his hand. Nothing you need to worry about. I try not to overthink it. People get busy. Jobs demand more attention sometimes. But then there were other things. The way he avoided eye contact when discussing finances, the sudden interest in cryptocurrencies, and those late-night conversations in hushed tones. Still, I convinced myself it was nothing serious. Maybe he just needed space to deal with stress. It wasn't until the summer of 2022 that everything unraveled. One evening, after Ethan left for yet another work meeting, I decided to balance our checkbook. It was something we usually did together once a month, but since he'd been so preoccupied lately, I thought I'd take care of it myself. As I reviewed our bank statements, something caught my eye. A series of large withdrawals from our joint savings account. Thousands of dollars, gone in chunks over the past few months. At first, I assumed Ethan must have forgotten to mention them. Surely, he had a good reason. Perhaps he needed cash for a project at work or paid for something on behalf of a client. But as I scrolled through the transaction history, my stomach tightened. There were no corresponding deposits. No receipts. Nothing to explain where the money had gone. Panic set in. I pulled out our monthly budget spreadsheet and compared it to the account balances. What I found made my heart race. Not only were the withdrawals unexplained, but they totaled nearly half of our savings. Half. Money we'd painstakingly saved over years of careful planning and sacrifice. I stared at the screen, unable to process what I was seeing. How could this happen? And why hadn't Ethan told me? When Ethan returned home that night, I waited for him in the kitchen, the laptop open on the table. He walked in whistling, completely unaware of the storm brewing. "Hey, babe," he said, leaning down to kiss me. "What's going on?" "Sit down," I said, my voice trembling. "We need to talk." He raised an eyebrow but complied, taking a seat across from me. "Okay, what's wrong?" I slid the laptop toward him, pointing to the transactions. "Do you care to explain these?" His expression shifted instantly, from casual to guarded. "Oh, that, yeah. He hesitated, clearly searching for words. "It's complicated. Complicated." I repeated, my voice rising. "Ethan, we're talking about thousands of dollars here. Our savings. Our future. Don't give me complicated. Tell me the truth." He sighed heavily, running a hand through his hair. "All right, fine. You're right. I should have told you sooner. But it's not as bad as it looks." "What does that mean?" I demanded. "I invested in crypto," he admitted finally. "A friend introduced me to this opportunity. It sounded promising, so I put some money into it." "Some money?" I echoed incredulously. You drained half our savings account. It wasn't supposed to be like this, he insisted. I thought it would pay off big time. But things haven't gone according to plan. Define things haven't gone according to plan, I pressed, dreading the answer. They're behind schedule, he admitted sheepishly. But they'll catch up. Trust me, it'll be worth it in the end. Trust me. Those 2 words felt like a punch to the gut. How could I trust someone who'd kept such a massive secret from me? Someone who gambled away our hard-earned savings without consulting me? I need proof, I said firmly. Show me the contracts, the agreements, anything. If this is real, you can produce documentation. For the first time, I saw fear flicker in his eyes. I don't have any documents right now. Everything's digital. That's convenient, I muttered bitterly. No paperwork, no records, no accountability. Sounds legit. It is legit, he protested. Just give it time. Once the project gains traction, we'll make back everything and more. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. This wasn't just poor judgment or reckless investing. There was something else going on, something Ethan wasn't telling me. That night, sleep eluded me. Every time I closed my eyes, images of empty bank accounts and shattered dreams danced in my mind. By morning, I'd made a decision. If Ethan refused to provide answers, I'd find them myself. First, I reached out to a trusted colleague of mine, Sarah, who happened to be a CPA. She listened patiently as I explained the situation, offering advice along the way. If you suspect foul play, she said, you might want to hire a forensic accountant. They specialize in uncovering financial irregularities. A forensic accountant. The phrase sent shivers down my spine, but I knew it was necessary. With Sarah's recommendation, I contacted a local firm specializing in fraud investigations. Their rates weren't cheap, but desperation trumped cost. Within days, they began reviewing our financial records. Meanwhile, I turned my attention to Ethan's behavior. Lately, he'd become increasingly secretive, spending hours glued to his computer or poring over his phone. Whenever I entered a room, he quickly minimized windows or locked his screen. Suspicious. Absolutely. But what exactly was he hiding? One afternoon, while he was out running errands, I decided to investigate further. I logged into his email account using a password we'd shared years ago, a habit neither of us had bothered to change. What I discovered chilled me to the bone. Inbox after inbox, emails poured in from addresses I didn't recognize. Some contained cryptic messages about targets and returns. Others referenced wire transfers and offshore accounts. One message stood out in particular. Phase 1. Final payment. What did any of this mean? My hands shook as I forwarded the entire thread to the forensic accountant. Whatever Ethan was involved in, it was far beyond simple investments. The forensic accountant wasted no time diving into the investigation. Using advanced software, they traced the flow of money from our savings account to various cryptocurrency exchanges, then onward to anonymous wallets and shell companies registered in tax havens. Each step revealed a darker side of Ethan's activities. It turns out he hadn't merely invested in a risky startup. He'd orchestrated a Ponzi scheme, luring unsuspecting investors with promises of astronomical returns. The initial victims included friends, family members, and colleagues, all people he claimed were part of a private network sharing exclusive opportunities. In reality, their contributions lined Ethan's pockets while he funneled our savings into the operation to maintain the illusion of success. As the scheme grew, so did its complexity. To cover his tracks, Ethan created fake invoices, fabricated reports, and manipulated data to convince participants their investments were thriving. Meanwhile, he siphoned off millions of dollars, stashing them in hidden accounts under false identities. By the time the forensic accountant completed their report, the damage was staggering. Ethan had defrauded dozens of individuals, amassing a total of $5 million before the bubble burst. And worst of all, our savings account served as the seed capital for the entire scam. Armed with the forensic accountant's findings, I faced a daunting decision. Reporting Ethan to authorities meant exposing not only his crimes, but also our role as unwitting accomplices. Yet, Staying silent would allow him to continue harming others. After much deliberation, I chose justice over silence. I filed a formal complaint with the FBI, providing detailed evidence of Ethan's fraudulent activities. Agents descended upon our home shortly thereafter, seizing computers, phones, and financial records. When confronted, Ethan initially denied involvement, blaming rogue employees and external pressures. However, the overwhelming evidence left little room for denial. During questioning, investigators uncovered additional layers of deception. Ethan had used aliases to create multiple personas online, posing as successful entrepreneurs and influencers to attract new investors. Social media platforms teemed with testimonials praising his brilliance, though none were genuine. Instead, they originated from bots programmed to amplify his reputation. As the investigation unfolded, news of the scandal spread rapidly. Victims came forward, sharing stories of betrayal and devastation. Many lost life savings, retirement funds, and college tuition money entrusted to Ethan's care. For each person affected, I felt a pang of guilt, knowing my delayed intervention contributed to their suffering. Despite the chaos swirling around me, one thing became crystal clear: I couldn't stay with Ethan. The marriage we built on trust and partnership crumbled irreparably. Divorce proceedings commenced swiftly, severing ties between us permanently. In the aftermath of Ethan's arrest, life took on a surreal quality. Media outlets clamored for interviews, neighbors whispered behind closed doors, and well-meaning friends offered condolences. Yet, amidst the turmoil, I found solace in rebuilding my life independently. Therapy sessions helped process emotions ranging from anger to self-blame. Support groups connected me with others navigating similar challenges, reminding me I wasn't alone. Slowly, I regained confidence in my ability to navigate financial matters responsibly. Ethan faced severe consequences for his actions. Charged with wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy, he received a lengthy prison sentence. Though satisfying on one level, it brought no closure. The scars inflicted by his betrayal lingered long after the courtroom drama concluded. Through adversity, resilience emerged stronger than ever. Lessons learned shaped perspectives, fostering gratitude for authentic relationships and honest endeavors. Though wounds healed slowly, hope flourished anew, guiding steps forward into brighter horizons. 2 years later, standing on the porch of my new home, I reflected on the path traveled thus far. Challenges tested limits, revealing inner strength previously unrecognized. Choices made define character, steering destiny toward paths aligned with integrity and purpose. Ethan's absence freed space for growth, enabling exploration of passions suppressed beneath marital expectations. Writing evolved into a therapeutic outlet, transforming experiences into narratives resonating with readers worldwide. Articles detailing insights gained from confronting deceit garnered attention, sparking dialogues surrounding transparency and accountability. Connections formed with fellow survivors fostered networks promoting awareness and prevention strategies against predatory schemes. Collaborative efforts aim to empower individuals recognizing warning signs early, preventing catastrophic losses. Advocacy work extended beyond personal healing, contributing meaningful impact society-wide. Life continued unfolding unpredictably, presenting opportunities masked as obstacles. Embracing uncertainty cultivated adaptability, enhancing capacity to thrive amidst change. Relationships nurtured intentionally blossomed authentically, cherishing bonds rooted in mutual respect and honesty. Gazing at Max lounging lazily under the shade of a tree, contentment washed over me. Despite trials endured, blessings abounded. Lessons absorbed illuminated pathways forward, illuminating possibilities once obscured by shadows cast by deceit. Hope persevered, guiding strides confidently into futures brimming with promise. And so, armed with knowledge, courage, and determination, I stepped boldly ahead, ready to embrace whatever adventures awaited next. After Ethan's arrest, the ripple effects of his actions spread far and wide. Friends and acquaintances who had trusted him with their money began reaching out, seeking answers and closure. Some were angry, demanding retribution. Others were devastated, struggling to come to terms with the loss of their life savings. Each conversation added weight to the burden I carried, forcing me to confront the harsh reality of how deeply Ethan's deceit had impacted others. One victim, an elderly couple named George and Margaret, particularly haunted me. They had invested their entire retirement fund with Ethan, believing his promises of high returns would secure their golden years. When the truth came to light, they were left with nothing, forced to sell their home and move into a smaller apartment. Seeing the toll this took on them, Margaret's trembling hands as she recounted her story, George's defeated posture, reminded me daily of the importance of speaking out against such crimes.